There was a time I thought love was something I had to chase. I thought it lived in someone else's hands, that I had to plead for it, prove myself worthy of it. I bent, I broke, I begged, until the day I looked in the mirror and saw the truth staring back. I am not a beggar, and neither are you. Love isn't a prize you win by shrinking yourself. It's not a gift you earn by dimming your light. It's a fire that starts within. Fierce, quiet, unshakable. The world might turn its back, people might walk away, but you don't need to kneel at anyone's feet to feel whole. You are the roots, the sky, the storm, and the calm, all at once. So stand tall, let your voice crack the silence, let your heart beat loud enough to drown out the doubts, because the moment you stop begging to be loved, you start living as love itself. And that's when they'll see it. Not because you asked, but because you dared to be you, unapologetically, completely enough. There was a time I believed love was a race, a relentless, breathless sprint towards something I could never quite catch. I thought it was out there, dangling just beyond my reach, held in the hands of someone else who could choose to give it or withhold it. I ran, I stumbled, I exhausted myself trying to close the gap, convinced that if I could just be faster, better, more pleasing, more perfect, then I'd finally cross the finish line and claim it. But the truth hit me like a quiet thunderclap one day. Love isn't a chase. It's not a prize you win by outrunning your flaws or outshining your fears. It's not a trophy someone else gets to award you when you've proven yourself enough. I used to think that if I didn't pursue it with everything I had, I'd lose it forever. I'd watch people walk away and I'd feel this ache, this panic, like I'd failed some unspoken test. I'd replay every word, every moment, wondering where I'd tripped, where I'd fallen short. I'd stretch myself thin, molding myself into shapes I didn't recognize just to fit what I thought they wanted. I'd beg, not with words maybe, but with actions, with silences, with the way I'd dim my own light to make theirs shine brighter. I thought that's what love demanded, a constant proving, a ceaseless striving, but it drained me. It left me hollow, staring at a version of myself I didn't even like. All for something that kept slipping through my fingers no matter how hard I tried. Then something shifted. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a whisper, a realization that crept in during the stillness. I didn't have to run anymore. Love wasn't a destination I had to claw my way toward. It wasn't a reward for being good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, or strong enough. It wasn't something I had to earn by twisting myself into knots or chasing after people who didn't see me. I'd been looking at it all wrong. Love wasn't out there waiting for me to catch up. It was already here, buried beneath the noise, waiting for me to stop running long enough to feel it. Think about it. Why do we chase? Because we're taught to. We're told love is scarce, that it's this rare, fleeting thing we have to grab before it's gone. We're fed stories of grand gestures and desperate pursuits as if the only way to have it is to fight for it, to beg for it, to prove we deserve it. But that's a lie. Love isn't a transaction. It's not a negotiation where you bartered pieces of yourself for scraps of affection. It's not a game of worthiness where you tally up your virtues and hope the score's high enough. It's bigger than that. It's deeper. It's not about what you do. It's about who you are. I stopped running, and the world didn't end. People still left, yes, but I didn't crumble. I didn't beg them to stay. I didn't chase them down with apologies or promises to be better. I let them go, and in that letting go, I found something I'd missed all along, myself. I realized I didn't need to prove anything, not to them, not to anyone. Love wasn't theirs to give or take. It was mine to live. It was in the way I spoke to myself, the way I stood up after falling, the way I chose to keep going even when it hurt. So here's what I know now. You don't have to run after love. You don't have to beg for it, plead for it, or shape yourself into someone else's idea of worthy. It's not a chase. It's a choice to stop seeking it outside and start seeing it inside. To stop proving and start being. For the moment you do, you'll find it's been there all along. Not as a finish line, but as the ground beneath your feet, steady and sure, waiting for you to start. I used to carry myself like I was asking for permission to exist. I'd walk into rooms with my head half bowed, my voice soft, my worth tied to what others thought of me. I didn't say it out loud, but I lived it, this quiet, desperate plea for someone, anyone, to see me, to choose me, to tell me I mattered. I thought that's what it took to be loved. I thought I had to offer myself up like a gift, wrapped in a... I didn't know it then, but I was acting like a beggar, hands outstretched, heart on a string, waiting for scraps of affection to fall my way. But I'm not a beggar, and neither are you. It's a hard thing to unlearn, isn't it? We're taught to seek approval, to measure ourselves by how others respond. We're told, sometimes with words, sometimes with silence, that our value depends on what we can give, how well we can please, how much we can bend before we break. I fell into that trap. I'd stay up nights wondering why I wasn't enough for someone, why they didn't stay, why their eyes looked past me. I'd replay every moment, searching for the flaw I could fix, the piece I could change. I'd offer more time, more effort, more of me, thinking if I just tried harder, they'd see my worth. I was begging not for bread or coins, but for something I thought I couldn't have on my own: love. The shift came slow, like dawn creeping over a long night. I was tired. Tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of feeling like I was less than whole. One day, I caught my reflection, not in a mirror, but in the way I'd been living. And I didn't recognize myself. Who was this person, so small, so fragile, so dependent on someone else's nod? That wasn't me. That wasn't the strength I'd carried through storms, the fire I'd kept alive in the dark. I'd been begging for affection when I should have been standing in my own light. I'd forgotten the simplest, truest thing. I have value. Not because someone says so, but because I am. You have it too, that inherent worth. It's not a loan you repay with good behavior. It's not a favor you earn by being useful or agreeable. It's yours, woven into your bones, your breath, your being. You don't need to plead for anyone to see it. You don't need to kneel at someone's feet, offering pieces of yourself until they nod in approval. That's what beggars do. They wait for charity, for pity, for someone else to decide their fate. But you're not waiting. You're not asking. You're standing on ground that's yours to claim. I stopped pleading, and it felt like waking up. People still walked away. Some always will. But I didn't chase them. I didn't beg them to turn back. I let them go. And in their absence, I found something stronger: peace. I didn't need their affection to fill me up. I didn't need their validation to stand tall. My value wasn't in their hands, it was in mine. And the funny thing is, when you stop begging, when you stop reaching for what you think you lack, you start to feel it, the quiet power, the steady pulse of knowing you're enough. So let this sink in. You are not a beggar. You don't need to barter your soul for love. You don't need to shrink yourself down, hoping someone tosses you a crumb of kindness. Your worth isn't up for debate or negotiation. It's a fact, as real as the air you breathe, as solid as the earth beneath you. Recognize it, live it, let the world see it, not because you demanded it, but because you stopped asking for permission to be. When you do, you'll find that the affection you once begged for either comes freely or fades away, and either way, you'll still be standing whole and unbroken, exactly as you were meant to be. I used to think love was something I could find if I looked hard enough. I'd search for it in other people's eyes, in their words, in the way they'd reach for me or wouldn't. I thought it was a gift they could give me, a warmth I could borrow to fill the cold spaces inside. I'd wait for someone to light that spark, to hand me a flame I could hold on to my own. I was wrong. Love doesn't come from out there. It's not a loan you take from someone else's heart. It starts within. A fire that ignites inside you, steady and fierce, burning even when no one else is there to tend it. For years I lived like love was a mirror. I'd stand in front of others, hoping to see myself reflected back, hoping their approval, their affection would show me who I was. When they smiled, I'd feel warm. When they turned away, I'd feel empty. I didn't realize I was giving them the match, the power to decide whether I'd shine or fade. I'd wait, sometimes for days, sometimes for years, for someone to strike that spark. And when they didn't, when they left or stayed but kept their distance, I'd sit in the dark, wondering why I couldn't feel whole. I thought I needed them to start the fire. I thought love was something they had to give me first. The truth came to me in pieces, like embers falling into place. I'd been through nights so heavy, I didn't think I'd see morning. Moments so quiet, I could hear my own heartbeat. And yet, I was still here. I'd kept going, not because someone held my hand, but because something inside me refused to give up. That's when I understood the fire was already there. It wasn't loud or obvious. It didn't need to be. It was a small, stubborn glow flickering through the cracks of every hurt, every doubt. I didn't need to borrow it from anyone. It was mine, born in me, waiting for me to fan it into flames. Think about a fire for a moment. It doesn't ask the wind for permission to burn. It doesn't wait for the wood to approve. It starts with a single spark, and once it catches, it grows, wild, unstoppable, alive. That's what true love is. It's not a shadow you chase or a debt you owe. It's a force that begins in your chest, in the way you choose yourself, in the way you rise when everything says fall. I stopped looking outside for it, and that's when I felt it warm, real, mine. It wasn't about someone else's yes or no. It was about my own. I'm not saying it's easy. There are days the world feels cold, days you want someone to reach out and pull you close. But even then, the fire doesn't go out. It's not borrowed. It can't be taken away. You might feel alone, but you're not empty. You might stumble, but you're not lost. Because love, the truest kind, isn't a gift someone hands you. It's a flame you carry, and once you know that, once you feel it burning inside, you stop needing anyone else to light it. You become the source. There was a time I thought my worth depended on who stayed. I'd watch people drift out of my life, friends, lovers, even strangers whose approval I'd craved, and I'd feel myself shrink. Every goodbye felt like a verdict. You're not enough. I'd hunch my shoulders, lower my gaze, and try to make myself smaller, less noticeable, less likely to be left again. I thought that's what you do when the world turns away. You fade, you apologize for taking up space, you wait for someone to tell you it's okay to be here. But I was wrong. Standing tall isn't about who's watching. It's about embracing your wholeness, even when no one else does. You don't need permission to shine. I used to think wholeness was something I'd feel when everything lined up, when the right people stayed, when the right words were said, when the world nodded in my direction. I'd hold my breath, waiting for that moment, thinking it would stitch me together, make me solid, but it never came. People left anyway. Silence fell anyway. And yet I was still standing, not perfect, not unbroken, but whole in a way. I'd been waiting for the world to hand me that feeling when all along it was already mine. It wasn't loud or obvious. It was quiet, steady, like the roots of a tree that hold firm no matter who walks by. The world turns away sometimes. It's not personal, it's just what it does. People get busy, hearts shift, doors close, and in those moments it's easy to think you're the problem. I did. I'd wonder what I'd done wrong, how I could have convinced them to stay. I'd dim myself down, thinking if I was less loud, less bold, less me, they'd turn back. But that's a trap. Shrinking doesn't bring them closer, it just leaves you smaller. Standing tall isn't about forcing their eyes on you, it's about knowing you're enough, even when they're looking the other way. I remember a day when it clicked. I'd lost something, someone. I thought I couldn't live without. The air felt heavy, the quiet stung, but I stood up anyway. I walked outside, felt the sun on my face, and realized I wasn't crumbling. I wasn't waiting for them to come back and tell me I was okay. I was okay. Right then, right there, with no one's permission. That's wholeness. Not the absence of cracks, but the strength to stand through them. It's not about who sees you, it's about how you see yourself. And I decided I'd shine, not for them, not for anyone, but for me. You don't need a crowd to validate that. You don't need applause or a hand to hold. The world might turn its back, but that doesn't mean your light goes out. Think of the sun. It doesn't stop burning when the clouds roll in. It keeps going, steady and sure, because that's what it does. You're like that too. Your wholeness isn't fragile, it's fierce. It's in the way you laugh after crying, the way you try again after failing, the way you keep being you even when it's hard. That's what it means to stand tall, not begging for a spotlight, but knowing you're already lit from within. So let the world turn away if it wants to. Let the seats empty, the voices fade. You don't need their eyes to hold you up. Embrace what's yours, this messy, beautiful, unbreakable thing called you. Stand tall. Not as a plea or a performance, but as a truth. You're not waiting for someone to say, go ahead, shine. You're doing it anyway because you can, because you are. And when you do, something shifts. The world might not always see it, but you'll feel it. A strength that doesn't bend, a light that doesn't fade. You don't need permission for that, you never did. I spent too long trying to be someone else's version of me. I'd tweak my laugh to sound softer, my words to sound sweeter, my edges to fit their corners. I thought that's how you get love, by sanding yourself down until you're smooth enough, small enough, safe enough for someone to hold. I'd catch myself mid-sentence, mid-thought, wondering if I was too much, too loud, too bold, too real. I'd apologize for it, not with words, but with the way I'd pull back, the way I'd beg with my silence for them to stay. I didn't see it then, but I was trading myself for scraps of acceptance. That's not living. That's pleading. And then I learned being unapologetically you isn't just freedom, it's how you stop begging and start radiating love. It's a strange thing how we twist ourselves up trying to be loved. We think authenticity is a risk, that if we show the raw, unfiltered truth of who we are, we'll scare people off. I used to believe that. I'd hide the messy parts, the dreams that didn't make sense, the fears that kept me up, the fire that sometimes burned too bright. I'd offer a polished shell instead, hoping it was enough to keep them close. But it never worked. The more I hid, the more I begged, quietly, desperately, for them to see past the mask. I didn't realize I was asking for something they couldn't give. A love I hadn't even given myself. The turning point wasn't loud, it was a whisper of exhaustion. I was tired of pretending, tired of shrinking, tired of waiting for someone to say, "You're okay as you are." One day I just stopped. I let myself breathe. I let myself speak without editing, laugh without holding back, dream without explaining. I stood in front of a mirror, not to check how I looked, but to see who I was. And I liked her. She wasn't perfect. She was loud sometimes, quiet others, a little broken in places, but real. For the first time, I didn't apologize for that. I didn't beg anyone to agree. I just was. And something shifted. I stopped needing their love to feel it. Being unapologetically you isn't about defiance, it's about trust. Trusting that who you are right now is enough. Not the version you think they want, not the one you'll be when you're better, but the one standing here today. I started living that way. Messy, honest, unfiltered. And the begging faded. I didn't need to plead for attention or affection anymore because I wasn't empty, I was full, not of their approval, but of myself. And that's when I know it is love doesn't run from authenticity, it's drawn to it. Not always from everyone, not always in the ways you expect, but it comes. Because when you stop hiding, you start shining. Think of it like this. A flame doesn't dim itself to fit the room. It burns as it is bright, wild, true, and people either warm themselves by it or walk away. That's what radiating love feels like. It's not chasing, not proving, not begging, it's being. I let my quirks show, my scars tell their stories. My voice carry its own weight. Some turned away, some always will. But others stayed, not because I asked, but because and even when no one was there, I wasn't alone. I had me, unapologetically, completely. So here's the truth. Living authentically is how you break the cycle. You stop begging when you stop pretending. You start radiating when you start owning every piece of yourself. The loud, the soft, the cracked, the whole. Love flows from that, not as a request, but as a gift you give yourself first. Be unapologetically you, not to prove a point, but to live one. The world doesn't need your mask, it needs your fire. And when you let it burn, you'll see you're not just enough. You're a force, a light, a love that doesn't need permission to exist. I used to think enough was a line I had to cross. I'd measure myself against it every day. Am I smart enough, kind enough, strong enough? I'd look at the people around me, their lives, their ease, and feel like I was falling short. I'd wait for someone to tell me I'd made it, that I earned the right to stop running, to stop doubting. I thought enough was a stamp of approval, a gift they'd give me when I'd proven myself worthy. I'd search their faces, their words, hoping to catch a glimpse of it. But it never came. Not the way I expected. Because enough isn't something they hand you. It's something you claim. The moment you believe you are enough, everything changes, not because you begged for it, but because you are. I spent years chasing that feeling. I'd pile up achievements, stack up smiles, thinking if I could just get one more nod, one more well done, I'd feel it. But it was like chasing smoke, always slipping away, always leaving me grasping. I'd lie awake, tallying my flaws, convinced I'd never measure up. I'd see someone leave, hear a silence stretch too long, and think, there it is, proof I'm not enough. I didn't say it out loud, but I lived it, this quiet plea for the world to tell me I was okay. I didn't know. I was waiting for the wrong voice. The only one that mattered was mine. It hit me one ordinary day when nothing special happened. No one cheered, no one stayed, no one handed me a crown. I was just sitting there alone with my thoughts, and I realized I was still here. I'd fallen, failed, cried, and yet I'd kept going. Not because someone carried me, but because I could. That's when it sank in. I didn't need their yes to be whole. I was enough. Not tomorrow, not when I fixed everything, but right then with all my cracks and questions. It wasn't a loud revelation, it was a quiet one, like a stone settling into place. I believed it. And that was the start. Believing you're enough doesn't mean you stop growing. It doesn't mean you're perfect or that life gets easy. It means you stop waiting for someone else to sign off on your worth. I stopped looking at their faces for confirmation. I stopped bending myself to fit their molds. I let myself be messy, real, human. And something shifted. People noticed. Not all of them, not always, but some did. They'd say things like, "You seem different," or "There's something about you." I didn't ask them to see it, they just did. Because when you believe you're enough, it shows. Not as a demand, but as a truth. It's like a light you didn't know you were carrying. You spent so long hiding it, dimming it, waiting for someone to flip the switch, but the moment you believe it's yours, it glows. I saw it in the way I walked, straighter, surer. I heard it in my voice, steadier, less afraid. I felt it in my choices, not chasing approval, but chasing what mattered to me. And the funny thing is, when you stop asking for it, love finds you. Not because you begged, not because you proved anything, but because you're standing in your own power. Some will see it, some won't, but you don't need them to. You've already got it. So here's what I know. You are enough. Not when you're thinner, richer, louder, or softer. Not when they say so. Now, the moment you believe that, not just think it, but feel it, others will see it too. Not because you shouted it, not because you pleaded, but because it's who you are. It's in your quiet strength, your unforced smile, your refusal to shrink.